Alrighty, welcome to Supernatural Signals, my haunted journal edition. If you're new here, this is my haunted journal. It's where I casually yap about what's going on in my life, especially anything supernatural I'm experiencing. I also share channel updates, everyday life with my boyfriend, and thoughts on things in the media like true crime, though the supernatural is usually the main focus. And on this channel, you'll find three types of content: this journal series, short mini mysteries, which you can find over at my shorts tab, and longer investigative deep dive videos. And those last two are always focused on supernatural things. So if you're interested in any of that type of content, please subscribe. Alrighty, so the first thing I want to get into, it's kind of related to supernatural as well as just things I'm enjoying entertainment wise and want to discuss. Um, usually what I like to do is kind of like open it up with just like stuff I've been doing and entertainment things and everyday life. But today I guess it's going to be a combo of supernatural and discussions as well as video games. Nothing spooky happened with the video games. I'm just like to sometimes just talk about the supernatural in general, and sometimes stuff I'm doing makes me have ideas about how the supernatural life works. Um, so I want to discuss the video game Reanimals. I finally finished it. I started playing a little while ago, and then I got distracted with other things. And not because I didn't want to play with it. I thought it was fantastic at the beginning, but I don't know. I like to when I play those video games, like when I play like Hollow Knight and Silk Song, like I'll play those when I'm like watching TV in the background or multitasking or in between breaks with work and stuff like that. But not so games like Reanimals, I just like to like enjoy really the storyline and really immerse myself in it. So that is what I did, and I finished it. I played a good chunk of it the other day and finished it out, and I just thought it was really, really well done. Um, First, let me kind of, there will be some slight spoilers on here. So if you want to play the video game, please be aware of that. Um, and I will timestamp it when I start talking about something else. But I want to give a little synopsis of the game if you're not familiar with it. So, Reanimals is a survival horror cinematic platformer developed by Tarzer Studios, and they are known for Little Nightmares. They did Little Nightmares 1 and 2. Um, and then they did not do Little Nightmares 3. They ended up, I guess, separating from the original company. I'm not sure. You can tell there's a difference. I liked Little Nightmares 3 a lot. I really enjoyed it, but you can just tell it was developed by different people. It had like a different vibe, I guess, to it, even though it was the same type of content. I don't know how to describe it. If you play the games, you'll understand. Both were really well done. The second Little Nightmares 2 was really, really good. But I have to say, Reanimals, it has the same vibe, but it's like a completely different storyline, was better than all of them, I think. I so enjoyed it. But let me get more into what it's about. It was published just this year, so just recently, and you play as a young boy and his sister, two orphan children who find themselves in a decaying, nightmarish island, which apparently used to be their home. Keep in mind, you can co-op this, so you can have someone else play with you. I did not. I just used a little AI for the girl, but just keep that in mind. Um, and then after mysterious catastrophe, the land has fractured into terrifying zones filled with grotesque animal-like monsters and remnants of destruction. So to start off with, you start off in sea alone as a little boy, and then he discovers his sister floating in the water. But it's kind of interesting because when you're watching it's interesting because like when she first sees him, again, spoilers, the little girl like attacks him real quick, and then he's like, I thought you were dead, and she kind of doesn't respond. And so you're kind of like trying to figure out like what was that about? Like what was the glitch? Like it was like she's angry and then she's like, let's just like not discuss this. Um, so that was kind of interesting. Um, and Before I get more into those details, so just keep that in mind. And then the world of Reanimals blends horror, surrealism, and psychological dread. And you creatures you encounter are twisted and mixes humans and animals, feeding the themes of loss, memory, and trauma. And like rabbits are involved, pigs are involved, like a lot of sacrificing themes are involved. The plot is delivered through atmospheric storytelling but isn't a heavy dialogue. Now there is some dialogue, like I said earlier in this. The Little Nightmares 1 and 2 did not have any dialogues except for like, hey, like little small like come here like type things, but nothing, no actual sentences. So the sentences really did bring a different vibe to it. Um and then you have to solve environmental puzzles and avoid terrifying monsters and things like that. So it's very artful. It's very, very well done. And there's actually a lot more, I guess, like action scenes in the sense of you get to drive a freaking tank. You get to drive a boat and stab people with the boat. You get to the tank part threw me off, but I love the tank part because it's kind of like towards the end where they're just like, let's get the F out of here. And it was like, boom. I loved it. But so you got to drive a tank, you get to drive a boat, you get to do, I don't know, a train scene, like a war zone scene. They like packed it in there as far as like the action and the playtime. It's really, really well done. And the I don't know, it was just a beautiful game. Like I don't know how to describe it. It's just like the art style, just really, really, really well done. Now this is where the real spoilers are going to come in. Now throughout the video game, the brother and sister are trying to find their three friends that are in this like really messed up world and trying to save them. They're trying to get the heck out of there, right? And so they're trying to find them. That's kind of like their overall goal, right? And then to leave. Um so during the gameplay, you're finding your friends, you're losing them again, you find them again. And during the game, the girl is like going off and on sick. Like she gets feels sick, and then you get like a cut screen of like the red sheep forming, right? And so you're like kind of what's going on, and their friends get like a little scared of her, and like there's something ominous about it. But the brother throughout the theme is very, very, very protective of her. Like if she gets sick, he will carry her on her back. He will help her. He like, he's very protective of her, and usually it's just those two while the other kids are like waiting somewhere while they're doing like a scene. There's are scenes with all the kids together, but usually it's just the brother and sister, right? So they have a really strong bond in this show. um there is a couple other sentences where one of the kids says like, why did you come back for us? And there was like really no reply from the girl. So it is kind of interesting. There seems to be some kind of like weirdness, and you don't really know at the beginning if it's like the girl is like bad or there's something going on. There's a past there, right? And then again, the girl keeps getting sick, and they keep doing this cut scene of this this sheep forming in her, right? Or forming in her body, it feels like. And so you're like, okay, that's weird. But then you go on your adventures or whatever. And then it turns out towards the very end, all this is basically the kids are dead. They're eliminated, right? From my understanding. And so they're in this like underworld dark area. And it turns out before all this, the kids were like in some kind of, they were orphans and they were in some kind of cult, from my understanding, or some kind of organization. I did watch a YouTube video that really helped me put it in perspective. I had like the same ideas, but like they said it a lot better than I'm saying it, by the way, which I'll link it down below if you're into it. But basically the kids were in some kind of like, I don't want to say, a cult is the best word I can describe. And I guess what happens is they ended up sacrificing her, and they lure her in this area with this little rabbit, and she goes and sees the rabbit, and the rabbit's like dead, and all of a sudden her friends like attack her, and then they bring her to this area, and there's all these adults, and they're basically sacrificing her, and she gets sacrificed her, and they throw her down the well, and then she just sees these four kids staring down at them, including her brother. And that's like the part where it really gets to me, because throughout the show you can kind of see little hints of like, certain bad creatures like would be nicer to one of the kids. His name is Buckethead because he wears a bucket on his head. Like, would, instead of like terrorizing him, he gives them ice cream, right? And so there's like little hints throughout the show showing like favoritism and things like that. And it's almost like showing how like there had to be some heavy manipulation during this process for the brother to willingly sacrifice his sister when he during this like, you know during this during this video game, he's like he's like he's trying to save her, right? Like the whole time he's like, like I said, if she gets sick, he holds her on her back. He doesn't try, you know what I mean? He's very like loving to her and protective of her. And it's crazy to me how willingly, like, I guess the cult side was able to manipulate him so bad that he was the one that dragged her body after they captured her to the well, right? And it just, the symbolism is really great. You see a lot of like, um, you see a lot of symbolism of pigs and oh, and there's this one scene. Oh my gosh, sorry, I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but there's this one scene where it's just so sad because you're going. There's this one scene, and you see this giant pig, right? And they're just sacrificing pigs, and I guess they didn't think pigs were enough to sacrifice to whatever they're sacrificing to. And but there's this one pig that he runs, and he's scared, and the brother goes and comforts him, right? Or your character goes and comforts him, so he has like a sweet side to him. So it's like, what happened to the brother that made him see that sacrificing his sister was either the only way or that she like deserved it for some reason? And the emotional manipulation like the dark side can have on people, like giving the bucket kid like the sweet treat, you know what I mean? Like, it's really really interesting if you look at it in that way. So, like I said, it's definitely showing that how like cults and dark side of the supernatural world, demons or whatever you want to label them as, are able to like manipulate people into doing something they probably never thought they would do. I mean, the brother and the sister, that's all they had. They were orphans, right? And the brother ended up doing that to his sister in order to appease. And the funny thing is, they all end up in this horrible horrible place, and the even though she has a lot of anger in her, because you can see it throughout the clues, throughout the whole thing, she still is trying to save these three other kids, right? Her and her brother could have just tried to leave, right? So it was really really interesting game. Like I said, I'll put down a couple videos that I thought were interesting, that did a better, summation of it. But I just thought the fact that the brother who has this like nurturing and protective side, like just sacrificed his sister, right? And it's like how dark, like I said in my last Haunted Journal series, how dark and twisted, even though they seem like the light and they seem like a good person, and like, if you're in a really bad situation, right? Like, let's say you grow up in an orphanage and it's just a bad situation, but someone gives you ice cream, like a secret treat, right? Every day, you're going to see that as like a positive thing and they're a good person, right? And that's, I feel like a lot of times how the supernatural works, right? It's like you don't know how good things can be, right? Because that's their whole world. And they felt like they needed to sacrifice this girl for, and the sad thing is she got lured in to try and save a rabbit, right? Like, that's how good of a person she was. So I don't know. It's very, 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 very interesting. The game is very good. Um, and again, it really shows how cult mentality can work. And like I said, the dark side definitely has a cult mentality, in my opinion. That's how they recruit people. That's how they manipulate people. And in the end, they're in a crappy, crappy, crappy place because of what they did, right? They didn't get what they wanted. So clearly. So we're going to move on from Reanimals. But like I said, if you're into video games, I suggest watching it. There's plenty of walkthroughs if you just want to watch it online. Um, where you can just follow the storyline if that's what you prefer. But I just thought I would discuss that. It was really, really, and it was just a really freaking fun game to play. They had like a wider screen for it than they did for the previous one, so you could see more of the area you were playing in. And I really, really like that concept. I don't know, you could see more. You were, instead of like just being like super up close, you kind of had like a bird's eye view sometimes while you were playing. It was really really cool. So I really hope they make a new one soon. But anyway, let's move on. I don't think I have too much else to discuss. I do want to touch kind of briefly on like the idea of, again, kind of going back to cults and like having that cult mentality. Like, I think that's, I always make a joke when I'm like thinking, like sometimes I'll read comments and stuff like that seem like where people are just trying to either get attention or trying to like I don't know, troll, but not really troll in comments where they ask kind of like stupid questions. They're trying to get you under your skin, or they're trying to like, and I use social media as an example because most people can relate, where it's just like, I don't know, trying to like I don't know, it's not use context clues, right? And like, or pretend not to know how to use context clues, right? Asking stupid questions like, well, why would you do this? And it's like, well, because I have this situation going on. I hope people know what I'm saying, like that. Things like that. And it's like, I kind of feel like with the supernatural, you have to be a very critical thinker, right? In the sense of like assessing situations, knowing when to like let things go, right? And like, no, it's not none of your business. And this is not something you should be learning at that time. But also like assessing a situation and realizing that there's probably 10 different sides to it. And if you're used to like one type of world and one type of just learning something, you're closing yourself off to a lot of other stuff to learn, right? So if like one thing meant for you for a really long time, like that symbolism might change, in a different scenario, right? And I've said this before, the supernatural is kind of like, in my opinion, these are obviously always my opinion, kind of like video games, right? You won't use controls for one video game versus another video game when you're people like I used to watch video games. I'm like, how the heck did this person do this? And they do it so swiftly. Well, they've done it over and over and over again, right? They're just used to it. They've been playing, since they were a kid, right? Like it's what they grew up with. It's like driving a car. Let's say it becomes like second nature. And it's like, well, how do you know when to use this part? And how do you know when to use this tool? And how do you know when to symbolize this means that and versus this is that? Because when I was playing Mario Kart, A was always this, and now I have to do A and X, and then now A isn't this. And it's like, yeah, because you have to like use your instincts. And like I said, the way the supernatural works is that it's like any skills, right? Like it's any skills. It's like, because sometimes you're like, well, what's the meaning with this and what's the meaning with that and the symbolism? Because there's a lot of symbolism in Reanimals, a lot. And when I'm watching comments, people are like, and then they have the war symbolism and then this symbolism and then this symbolism and this can be for that and this can mean that. And there's so many interpretations. And it's like, how do you know what symbolism to use to carry the storyline, like the meanings behind it, right? And you can dig and dig and dig. And I'm sure just with Reanimals alone, there's so much symbolism. You could probably make maybe even a different storyline than what I just described, right? And make it plausible. But the thing is that first of all, you have to use context clues, right? Does the story really make sense? And then it's like playing basketball, right? It's like, well, how did this guy know to pivot over here? Or how did this guy know to like do the three jump instead of going to the hole? Or how did this guy know to do this? And they're moving all around, and it's like it's a feeling, right? It's like they don't know what the defense team is going to do, but they just pivot around it. And how does that happen? It becomes second nature. It becomes like ingrained in them. And that's how you work with the supernatural, because the supernatural is always evolving. So you have to start, like, if you're on your spiritual journey and certain things mean something to you, but let's just say you want to start expanding your different type of skills as far as like intuition and things like that, you got to start maybe seeing the symbolism in a different way, right? And trying to like interpret it from that, and the universe will guide you in that direction, right? Like, I hope that makes sense. And trying to pivot from the bad guys, right? Because again, you got to stay 10 steps ahead, in my opinion, from the bad guys. And I, like I said, there's always a dark side to the light side, right? Um, so I know that sounds a little weird, but that kind of like made me just think about how like, you know, there's so many different ways to look at the universe. And sometimes it's, when you're trying to like hone your skills in the universe, and start, it's like, I'm sure people that are what's the word, psychics and things like that, they hone their skills, right? If they're actually legitimate. Obviously there's a lot of fake people out there, but if they're actually legitimate, they hone their skills, right? They practice, they do their intuitions, they're doing things like that. And if they have the opportunity to do that, run with it, right? So I don't know. That is kind of my idea. And then I wanted to touch again. And the one piece of advice as far as like honing your skills is, let's say you're in touch with the universe and you see symbolism in your everyday life, right? That's kind of how sometimes I work with the universe, right? You see symbolism, whether it's like you think it's a sign from your mother, or like a sign for you to go for a job, or a sign for you to quit, or a sign for you to like get married, like whatever, you see your magical number, like whatever those cases is. If you see something a lot and it's like almost feels like it's haunting you, right? And it feels like you're like, what is it? It feels like certain things are haunting you. Like let's say like you see, let's say something really bad happened to you on Christmas, like the worst thing ever happened to you on Christmas Day, and you see a bunch of Christmas symbols all the time. You hear people saying Christmas, and you hear um you see Santa, and it's like in the middle of July, and someone just like, oh, during Christmas, and you just see the word Christmas all the time, and you're just like triggered, right? Because that's one of the worst memories you've ever had. The universe probably isn't trying to be like, oh man, scary. Like the light side doesn't do that. The light side doesn't try and scare you, right? And they try and scare you to get your attention, because feelings like excitement and scared gets your attention. But 99 times out of the 10, they're trying to get your attention for something else. And it's not about you usually, right? It might be about you trying to go on in your spiritual journey, but it's also to help progress in your spiritual journey, but it's probably not what you think it is. Right? And that's how they get your attention, right? It's like Christmas, 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 Christmas. Then all of a sudden you're just like, what? Like, because this is obviously triggering me. And am I going to like something happening on Christmas? Like, you know what I mean? And like, I can't go through that again and blah, blah, blah. But if you sit and you reflect, and if there's something else that, especially with your spiritual journey, that you're trying to like get past or move forward or trying to figure out in the spiritual world, then start thinking about that in a different way than just about yourself. Right? And like, and once you start doing that, the universe will help you do that. That's how I've progressed in my spiritual journey. But I think I'm going to leave it there. Um, I hope everyone is having a great weekend. Me and my buddy went on a walk, and then we cuddled in bed, and now Kitty is cuddling with me. I have to switch my cuddle times. I played a little video games. I'm starting to play Limbo. I might post some of those game clips on a haunted journal. I haven't decided yet. But yeah, I think I'm gonna like hop in the shower and just kind of chill for the rest of the day. But I hope everyone's doing well, and thank you for listening. And as always, stay curious and stay tuned into the supernatural. Thanks for watching.